For that very insightful and inspiring summary, Manoharji. Just so promising and pleasing to know so much grassroots efforts that are going on. We'll move on to the main keynote for this morning, and we have with us Anil Suryavanshi ji for this. It's my privilege to Rajvanshi ji. I'll introduce Anil ji. Anil ji is the Director, Trustee and Honorary Secretary of the Nimkar Agricultural Research Institute, NARI. For over 4 decades, he has been a pioneering force bridging renewable energy research and rural development. After earning degrees from IIT Kanpur and a PhD from University of Florida, where he also taught, he returned to India in 1981 to dedicate his life to grassroots innovation. Anil ji holds 7 patents for life-changing solutions like electric rickshaws and ethanol-powered lanterns, earning him the prestigious Globe Award. Beyond his innovations, he has shaped national strategy, authoring India's policy on energy self-sufficient talukas and advising the government. He is also a prolific writer with over 250 publications blending sustainable development with spirituality. His monumental contributions are recognized worldwide. He is an inductee of the US Solar Hall of Fame, and in 2022, the Government of India conferred upon him the Padma Shri, one of the nation's highest civilian awards. Please join me in welcoming Anil ji for this keynote.
Good morning. First of all, I would like to thank Shrikant Palkarji for his gracious hospitality and everything, for bringing me and my wife here. And actually I came to learn, but he put me here. So it's a very different thing, because this is the first time where I am attending such a conference, and it's a very interesting thing. Yesterday, the whole day, there were very interesting things, and I learned a lot, and I'm sure that in the next couple of days, I'll keep on learning more and more. So without any ado, I'll start my talk. I'll go through my speech, written speech, and then there'll be some slides. Shrikantji talked about my work that I did. I'll just like to touch a little bit on 1981 when I went back. Nobody from IIT Kanpur or IITs went back. Everybody stayed here. But in a fit of madness, arrogance, I went back to rural India. Probably I was the first IITian to go back to rural India after getting a PhD teaching in University of Florida. Arrogance that I'll change India. How stupid I was. India is a very ancient civilization. Nothing happened, but it changed me. It taught me, living in rural India, it taught me simplicity, spirituality, and the humility that the problems are so huge that for 7 generations we cannot solve them. And yet, I persisted and continued. I have written a lot about what we did. And I'll show you on the last slide all the books that I've written about what we did, romance of innovation, etc., etc. Spirituality allowed me to remain sane. India is the land of spirituality. It gave yoga, it gave so many things to the whole world. And I said, if I am part of the Indian ethos, then I should understand that. And it gave me a tremendous feeling of what India is and what we can do with technology to change the thinking. And that is what I have spent the last 20-25 years. My first editorial article, very big article in those times, Times of India allowed 1,500 Word's article was on spirituality and technology. This was 25 years ago when nobody talked about it. Now this is in vogue. A lot of people talk about it. But I am very happy that we started the trend. And I think that is something that I have spent a lot of time, and I'll speak about it today. I have utilized my engineering and science knowledge also in the realm of spirituality, because science is what guides us in everything. And one of the greatest scientific treatises of anything was Patanjali Yoga Sutras. I feel that I know a little bit more. I spent a long time, many years writing about them, writing books on them, and it's amazing the knowledge and the ocean of knowledge that still exists and which we have not been able to figure out. So I'll start. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm delighted to be here attending the DDA 26 in the campus of University of Houston. Long ago in 1975, I visited this campus during my student days. I was working with a very pioneering professor in University of Florida in solar energy, and there were two very famous professors here in University of Houston, and I came to see them. And Houston and the university has changed in the last 50 years as everything else. I believe this is the third year of DDA, but with Palkarji's energy and vision, I'm sure it will. Am I visible? Am I audible? Yeah. I'm sure it will thrive and become a beacon of hope for spreading the message of Dharma in the United States. I believe these are the tough times for everybody in the world, especially so in the United States, and feel that if we can cap our greed for resources, then it can help produce a sustainable and happy society. You need some Los Angeles? Okay. Greed can be capped by spirituality. That is the main theme of my talk, which is technology guided by spirituality leads to sustainability and happiness. And I'll talk about how this can happen. I also feel that this could be a new paradigm of development for the whole world. And if we can do that, then I think this will be a very happy and sustainable world that we would like to see. I'm also happy to know that the various themes of the conference mirrors what I've been writing and talking about in the last 25 years. And I'll leave you with my writings, the URL, and you can visit them. But the overriding theme of the conference is Dharma. Everybody talks about Dharma. Dharma, as most of you know, has various meanings and connotations. The most common being right way of living and path of righteousness, as everybody talks about. However, the question can be asked, who defines the right way of living and the right path? Then that is where the fight comes. This is my dharma, this is my right of pathway. But I don't think so. And I think the answer is that the right or the correct path is automatically shown when we search for the truth. This search helps us to become spiritual, and ultimately all such searches lead us to one answer, and that is how this marvelous world or the universe is structured, sustained, and functions. Thus, to my mind, all great thinkers and scientists were spiritual in nature. Examples of Einstein, Gandhi, Newton, and other great thinkers come to my mind. My father went to jail with Gandhiji. Unfortunately, I was born 2.5 years after his death, so I never met him. But I met a lot of my father's friends who were very close associates of Gandhi. And I always felt that here was a great yogi and a great man who really changed the course of India's history. And he showed through this process that what a great thinking he brought, what sustainability he brought. And I think if we can follow part of what he did, this world can be a very good and nice place. So all of us who search for truth in the deepest and the most honest way come to the same conclusion, and that to my mind is the real dharma. This is my feeling. I'm sure that there may be people who will not agree with that, but that is all right. And when we practice dharma properly in our own lives and become spiritual, it gives us great joy and happiness, and in the process makes us and this world a sustainable place to live in. I will now discuss the building blocks of my thesis and where spirituality and technology and how together they can produce sustainability and happiness. So what is spirituality? The main source of dharma. Spirituality is concerned with matters of spirit. That's why spirituality. When we think deeply and for a long time about anything, whether it is an idea or an object, then the brain has a tendency of focusing on it like a laser, and in the process the object vanishes from the vision field and only its germ or the spirit remains. This is a process called Sanyam by Patanjali in his Yoga Sutras, which is a combination of Dhyan, Dharan and Samadhi. And Sanyam done on anything results in the complete knowledge of that idea or of the object. It's a remarkable document, this Patanjali Yoga Sutras. And if some of you have read, the Vibhuti Path, to my mind, is the real gem of his Yoga Sutras. And unfortunately, because people who gave commentaries on it were not scientists, so they glossed over it, but it contains a huge amount of science, and how the modern science and technology that we talk about, it features so nicely. I have written a book, The Deep Science in Patanjali Yoga Sutras. It is available free on the net, and please go through it to see how I have tried to put the modern science and technology with what Patanjali wrote, who knows, 3,000, 5,000, 4,000 years ago. This is also the mechanism by which all great ideas and discoveries of the world have been made. So in the modern times, we discuss, debate, and write about the process of discovery. And here was a person born in India almost 3,000 years ago who wrote and discussed about it. You see, when we talk about dharma, we talk about how to get youngsters involved. I will tell you that no youngster wants to stay in India. It's a sad part. I live in rural India. We have to create conditions by which their stomach gets filled up, because when their stomach are filled up, then they can think about higher things. And we have great knowledge in this in our country, and we need to tell them that this is how the world should be shaped. But before that, we need to tell them how to become better human beings, how to be be attached to the story of India, and how they can help themselves by being in India and making a better India. This deep thinking on anything also helps us evaluate and resolve issues, and hence removes the clutter from the brain and gives us a sense of peace and happiness. Naturally, deep thinking and concentration requires a powerful brain which can be cultivated by continuous and sustained practice at any age. It is preferable that this is learned in childhood, since the brain is pliable at that age and has not been cluttered by memory knots. Since the development of powerful brain should start from childhood, it is important that we teach our children to focus and inculcate in them the habit of remaining focused on any issue. This will help them get away from attention deficit syndrome, and which afflicts most of the youngsters world over. I have two daughters. When we came to Fulton, which was a very, just an overgrown village, it was such a place that making a phone call in 1980s, I would hop on the bus, go 4 hours to Pune and make phone calls. That was Fulton. Coming from some of the best missionary school in Lucknow, going to the best IIT Kanpur, going to America, and then coming back to rural India was a great detoxification exercise. So there were no good schools. So we started a school for our children, for our two daughters. And whichever class my elder daughter went, the school went. Today it is a very famous school. We are funded extensively by Tata Trust and etc. And my younger daughter is a trustee and teaches in the school. I interact a lot with the youngsters. Wherever the youngsters, the students invite me, anywhere in the country, I go. Because to me, they are the future of the world, the future of India. And it is very difficult to ask them to focus on something. They are continuously on their mobiles. A lot of schools don't allow the mobiles, but whenever they get the time, they are always on the mobiles. And so in that world, when the whole world is known to them, it becomes very difficult to teach them about something which is centered for India and what can you do, because they are all the time looking for better things to do. And one of the things that they feel, and so is the society, that you should get out of India and go anywhere else. And this is the saddest part, whether it is in IITs or in schools, anywhere. And this is, if you are going to fund, if you are going to do something, you have to do that. How we create conditions for the youngsters in India so that they stay in India and be invested in the story of India. This is the biggest challenge for all the Dharma people. Since I stay in rural India, I can say with little confidence that it is possible, but it is a hard task. Naturally, this will require very dedicated teachers and school system which encourages students to think deeply about any issue and be ethical. I give lectures in IITs, and one of the most difficult part is how to be ethical. They are taught about everything else, but they are never taught how to be a good citizens and be ethical. And this is the most important thing that they should be taught about. In fact, today AI is used extensively in IIT system for cheating. And there are AI systems available to see where they are cheating, and Ashish can tell me, but this is the really sad part of the whole system. They are much smarter than the professors. They get all AI systems and they produce. And in doing that, they are reducing their brain tremendously because their ability to think reduces drastically. I therefore feel that each one of us should become teachers. I do it. Anytime anybody invites me in the smallest villages, I go there. Because to me, they are the future. They do not have a single neuron less than the people who go to the public schools or the best schools, and we should be able to inspire them. In fact, I was always inspired by the example of Carl Sagan. You know who Carl Sagan was. People asked him, what made you go into this? He said, my high school teacher. And I think it is the teachers who inspire the youngsters. And that is the most important thing that all of us can do. How do we inspire the youngsters in becoming invested into the story of India and really looking at the old Indian traditions? Spirituality is different from religion. People have talked yesterday about it. Religion is about control. Religious leaders have used it throughout the history of mankind for their own greed, either for power, wealth or fame. I feel that all great thought leaders, this is my feeling, of the world were spiritual. After all, they were searching for truth. It was their later disciples who converted their thoughts into religion to control and create havoc in the world. I do not know how many of you know that Quran was written 400 to 500 years after Muhammad. Muhammad did not write it. Nobody wrote it. So what happened between 400 years, in the 400 years, is anybody's guess. And same is the story of every religion. Ashoka did everything in the stupas. He wrote about Gautam Buddha. But what happened in 300 years? We do not know. Even our great religious texts that we, because there was no written material in India, or whatever it was got finished. So somewhere around 400, 500 years ago, we started getting our texts. Who knows what happened between that? And that is what we have to think. But whatever we have, there are so many great gems of science and technology. If you read between the lines, that is a really remarkable story of India. So it was the later disciples who converted the thought into religion and control and create havoc in the world. In fact, it is a sad fact that some of the largest killings in the world in the history of mankind had been because of religious strife. We have to get away from that. We have to become a spiritual people. We have to get really to the bottom of everything, and that is truth. And when you do that, then all this strife and other things can be taken care of. Spirituality is therefore the state of mind that makes it understand that the truth is beyond the barriers of worldliness, religion, rituals, caste, creed, race, or geographical boundaries. It makes us look deeper into ourselves and helps us connect to the marvels of nature in a deep way, and subsequently to universal consciousness. This is not any theoretical thing. I have felt some of these things in my own life, and that is why I'm talking about it. Similarly, spirituality also helps us have a compassionate view of nature, and as we evolve spiritually, we become more tuned to it, which helps us in preserving it. Since it is a search for truth and not concerned about control of anybody, it helps us live in harmony with each other and enables us to work together for the common good. This is the genesis of non-violence. And all the people who practice non-violence and who preach non-violence comes from this basic thing that when you become tuned with the whole world, then you also like to help it. In all religions, the respect for nature and for each other is preached, and the maxim of living and simple and high thinking is ingrained in their teachings. Spirituality also helps us become fearless, since deep thinking helps to resolve the issues which are the cause of anxiety. This removes insecurity from our minds, and fearlessness allows us to chart new paths and help us become creative and innovative. This is the genesis of wisdom. So when we have wisdom, non-violence, then we can make this world a better place. With Vivek and wisdom, we can resolve most of the issues and have proper perspective in life. This helps us to reduce greed impulse and is the first step towards sustainability and happiness. Since this whole thing is about how to create a sustainable world, so the whole basis of problems in the world today are because of excessive greed. Our whole world is going in a very, very strange way. It's very dangerous. The greed of the people, both in politics and in economic affairs, is really ruining the world. And unless until we cap our greed through spirituality, we will never make this world a happy or sustainable place. And this is my thesis. So what is the... So this is the chaos. Now, so how the greed, the genesis of greed, the basis of greed is desire. Desire manifests itself in different forms like lust, aim, ambition, control, goal, etc. I'm giving you these building blocks, and so then we'll put it together. One of the outcomes of desire is possession. Whenever we desire something, we want to possess it. We feel a need to possess whatever we desire, whether it is a person, object, or even an idea. Possession has evolutionary roots. All life forms want to maximize possession since it helps them to overcome shortage of resources for rainy day scenario. This is what gives us the desire to hoard and become rich. However, it is my belief that richness is not having too many materials or luxurious goods, but lots of time at hand. And I feel myself as a very rich person because I have all the time in the world to think about these deep problems and to write about them, to contemplate. And I think that is what the richness should be. Not in having too much of material goods, but is to have time to think about these deep problems and probably try to find a solution in our way. That allows one to think and do meaningful work, which gives us great joy and happiness. One of the reasons why I was able to stay in a place, there are a lot of pinpricks in living in rural India. And one of the great, I feel very blessed in my life that I've got this thinking process, and it gave me great happiness, joy, and I've tried to write and explain to others. Possessions also helps the mind in maximization of experience. As we absorb experience through our senses, the brain processes this information. It is during this process that we decide whether our desires are fulfilled or not. A powerful brain evaluates the situations and it is able to resolve the desired issue. This resolution helps in releasing the possessions and reducing greed and brings in the feeling of detachment and happiness as taught in Gita and Patanjali Yoga. It is this powerful brain which allows you to resolve. When you go to shop, a lot of times you do shopping because of the insecurity. If you think whether you really need it, then you will realize that there is no need for unnecessarily shopping and spending money. When the brain cannot resolve these issues, it leads to unfulfilled desires, frustration, and increased possessiveness. This leads to eventually to more control and greed, which is a major cause of misery and corruption in the world. So what is the nature of desire? Desire is a very useful and necessary emotion. It allows us to achieve something and be active. Without desire, we'll be lifeless, dead, or like stones. Desire and fear are primeval emotions and help us survive life by garnering resources and protecting itself from predators. However, what we need to do is to satiate or channel our desires so they get fulfilled without too much taxing of resources, materials, and energy. Our big brains allows this luxury. For example, we can wear only one shirt and one pair of pants. So what is the need for having 100 shirts and so many pants? We can live in one house or drive one car at a time. So what is the need to have many houses and many cars? This is something that each one of us should think very deeply. And when you think deeply, then you realize there is no need for going for all these things. A powerful processor or mind gets its desire fulfilled quite easily without physically possessing the objects of desire, since it can effectively evaluate all choices. A powerful mind, therefore, can help us lead a sustainable life, while on the other hand, a weaker brain produces insecurity, which makes us want to possess a lot more things for fulfillment of desires, and this leads to greed. Greedy people are the most insecure people in the world. The world is full of examples of such insecure people. We see all around us, whether here, India, anywhere. The world is really going into very, very strange places because of the greed of the people, and we have no control somehow. But here we are sitting here, all thinking about dharma and other things. And if we can start a movement that reduce the greed through spirituality, then there is a something process. So spirituality is really needed much for rich and powerful. They are characterized by the greed, insecurity, and obscene lifestyles. I have a lot of friends in the Indian industry. The captains of industries are my personal friends. I always ask them, why do you need such a big jet? And they all give all sort of answers. It's amazing how they can be so invested in all these things that they never think more deeply about it. They say, Mr. So-and-so has a bigger jet than mine, so why shouldn't I have it? I've had discussions with some of the real top people, I will not name them, and this is amazing. And I tell them that, for example, somebody came to see me in his helicopter from Pune, and he said, why don't you take a ride with me back? I said, no, I'm not interested. Yeah. What, 10 minutes? I still have 10 minutes? Good enough. Shrikantji said, I have 45 minutes. Okay.
That was 35 minutes.
Okay. Thank you for giving me the time. So they are increasing their wealth and power, and this increasing the chasm between rich and poor. With power, richer people help create unreasonable laws, and through corrupt practices further increase their ill-gotten wealth. Unfortunately, their unsustainable lifestyle becomes a role model for the general public, since these people also own communication networks and mass media. Till these people put a curb on the greed, their unsustainable lifestyle will continue. For the world to become sustainable, rich people need to become more spiritual than anybody else. One can live an emotionally satisfying life with few resources. I have lived for 40 years in rural India, and I live in 1/4. I've done a very detailed study of how much energy I consume. I live in 1/4 to 1/5 the energy level of an average American. Because if all people in this world have an American lifestyle, we will need 4 earths to sustain it. But with the type of living I do, we can sustain, the whole world can sustain in one world. So it is possible, and it is very emotionally satisfying, and I'll show you the URL for that. So what is technological progress? One of the outcomes of big brain is that we can modify our surroundings to make our life comfortable. This is the conquest of nature and hallmark of human evolution. This is also the genesis of technology. The curiosity of how technology works leads to science. The history of mankind, therefore, is the history of technology. Starting from wheel and fire, humans have developed technology to make their lives better. Technology is a double-edged sword. It helps us to live comfortably, but at the same time enables us to develop weapons of mass destruction, and that is what is happening. Technology can be developed and used in whatever way humans want it. Greed itself is bad, but fueled with technology, it is lethal. And this is what is happening. All over the world there are wars because the whole thing is being driven by military-industrial complex, what Eisenhower said way back in 1950s, and this is what is driving the world. Because that is how the greed is increased, that is how the money comes, and everybody is involved in that. And so it is a self-perpetuating system. It often leads to wars, monopolies, and dictatorships, as we see in today. Yet I feel that the technology and wisdom have gone hand in hand. Though we have developed weapons of mass destruction, the collective wisdom of mankind has stopped us from annihilating each other. And I hope that through dharma and other things, we should be able to sustain this further. Most of the wars are resource related, but I feel that as we advance spiritually and technologically, we will stop waging wars, since the wisdom will guide us to use available resources more efficiently to provide comforts for all mankind. I am sure that as the level of technological progress increases, we will also use it judiciously to further raise our level of consciousness. And thus, as we progress ahead in the technological area, we will discover the great laws of nature and ultimately God. Because God is nothing else but this marvelous universe which follows its own scientific laws. And science and technology allows us to discover the universe and eventually God. In fact, all our spiritual writings, if you look through the prism of science, you'll see that they were written by people who are great scientists. They talked about the nature, they talked about how the Brahman was formed, they talked about, this is what I have written in my Patanjali Yoga. This is amazing what technology exists or what science existed at the time. And we are just reading between the lines and trying to decipher that. I feel that this law of evolution, that we become more spiritual, we will also become a technologically advanced civilization. This is because when we apply our sharpened brains to any problem, then solution results. This is the reason why Patanjali put the conquest of physical nature, which is technology, in the Vibhuti path, which is the third chapter. After first two chapters, he told the yogi how to make your mind a very powerful tool. Therefore, a necessary condition for large-scale technological progress is to have a spiritual progress. And this, to my mind, is something which is missing. When we have a spiritual progress, we'll also have technological progress, otherwise we'll all be ruled by AI. AI is our product, and AI will always remain as our slave unless until we do not go through the path of spiritual progress. If we have a spiritual progress, then we can always make AI as. So putting it all together, we have discussed the building blocks, spirituality and technology, and this new paradigm of development. Throughout the history of mankind, India has periodically given a new thought to the world. Whether it is yoga, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, Bhakti Yoga, or the non-violence method of Mahatma Gandhi. All have come from India. The world is richer because these lofty ideas and ideals have helped mankind. And we should remember that. We should go back to our roots, really in honest manner, not through just a ritualistic, but really in honest manner, and we'll realize what great things we had. I feel that this another idea, and I'm bragging about it, that technology guided by spirituality can lead to sustainability and happiness, should be the new paradigm of development, just like anything else. And briefly, it can happen in the following manner. By becoming spiritual, we can reduce our greed for resources and materials. Spirituality helps us to be at peace with ourselves and sharpens our brain. Besides, it gives us wisdom and perspective in life. And with powerful brain and heightened consciousness, we can make rapid technological progress. And with wisdom gained through spirituality, we will use technology judiciously so as to use nature's resources wisely and live comfortably and sustainably. Technology not only helps us to have a comfortable life, but allows us to explore the wonders of nature and the universe and helps in expansion of our horizon. This is the genesis of space travel that all our great scriptures have taught. The gods came from outside. They were all space travelers. And we'll also become space travelers ourselves, and we'll become gods just like them. But more than that, if we make this world as a very happy and sustainable place, we don't need to go out. We can make this world as a heaven, so we don't need to go out to looking for new heavens. And I'm sure in the coming days there will be more manthan on these discussions on these issues. And thank you very much. And these are my books that I have published. The first one on the left is my journey from IIT Kanpur to United States and back to rural India. The second is on the work that we have done in the renewable energy sector. I call it the romance of innovation. And then my work on spirituality, which are these three books. And my latest book is Deep Science in Ancient Indian Philosophical Thought, which has been published by MBLD just last month. It is available on the Amazon. I have made also all of them freely available because I believe that the knowledge should be freely available, and it is for the mankind to think, dissect, debate, and read as much as possible. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to take questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
We do have time for questions, so if I could request.
Did it make sense?
Yes. Absolutely.
Very nice.
Namaste. I was speaking with a friend this morning and haven't talked to her in a while. And I asked her, I said, are you happy? What's going on in life? Are you happy? And she said, I'm so happy. We have we got our pool redone and we go swimming every day. We have a self-driving Tesla now, and we can put on our sunglasses and just sleep. And so that's not an issue. A bunch of other things, and she sounded genuinely happy. And I'm wondering if this is an illusion of happiness or if it's real happiness, because it can be very drawing, that type of experience.
Yeah, actually that's a very interesting thing. 2004 I came to give lectures in Berkeley, and I thought that I'll go and see my friends. All my classmates, they are big honchos in Silicon Valley. So I went to see them, and actually they're part owners of some of the big companies. And they told me that what an idiot I was. With my rising star, I went back. So I said, well, why? She says, you would have been chairman of this company, that company. So I said, are you happy? This was my question. Of course I'm very happy. I live in a 10-room mansion. And so I said, for two of you, 10 rooms, why do you need that? He said, no, we have 10, 15 servants. He wanted to tell me how he has arrived, coming from middle-class Indian family. So I said, if I were you, I would hire a hotel for the parties. He was telling me that 10 rooms mansion was necessary for parties. The question is this, that I'm not a preacher. I'm not insisting that you follow you have to be genuine and be honest with yourself. You may say that you are happy, and who knows people are happy or not happy, but if they look genuinely, then they realize that something is missing. And it's only because that is how the whole Indian system is always there. The Guru only shows the finger to the disciple. The disciple has to follow and find out himself or herself what is the correct path. Yeah.
Thank you very much for your enlightening talk. One of the things we as a group we should start thinking about is that go and press any AI, and I would like to get your comment on that, whether it is Perplexity or Claude or anything, and ask, what is the origin of European Enlightenment? So it'll give some interesting things over there. Let's say, when did East India Company get to India? And then is there a correlation between East India Company arriving in India and then right after that Enlightenment happening in Europe?
There are lots of things written. 2 years ago, the Nobel Prize in Economics was given only on this, that what made Europe the great powerhouse of industrial revolution and what brought in enlightenment, whatever it is. There's a lot of things written.
But it is the knowledge system. Like, for example,
yes.
Hegel and Schopenhauer and others. So Hegel never admitted that he got all his ideas from Upanishad. Schopenhauer agreed to that.
But Einstein, on the other hand, always had the spiritual books on his bedside.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know whether we have time. My father's friends were very close to Gandhiji, and Einstein had a great regard for Gandhi. So one of his friends, one of my father's friends, he himself was telling me this. He was an Eisenhower fellow in 1954, and he took an appointment. Einstein never gave an appointment, but he knew that he was a Gandhian very close associate, so immediately the appointment was given. And he went in the Princeton area, met Einstein. Einstein kept on asking him, does Gandhi laugh? Does Gandhi do this? Does Gandhi do that? So my father's friend thought that he will ask, does Gandhi go to toilet also? And he came to interview Einstein, and Einstein was so engrossed with Gandhi. So then he said that, for all youngsters, you were the person who started the atomic war, atomic bomb. And he got so upset, read absolutely, and he threw out my father's friend. So 45 minutes was finishing. The reason why I'm saying is that while he was discussing this, he saw a couple of books on Upanishads and etc. at Einstein's bedside. Einstein had a great interaction with Tagore. Einstein also had a great interaction with my wife's great-grandfather, Maharishi Karve. Maharishi Karve went and met him. So Einstein always had this, all these great thinkers, they were all spiritual. And they knew that where the spirituality comes from. And they also knew that the ancient Indian philosophical thought had looked at these problems, had discussed these problems. It's just that they were never looked from the prism of science. So it was all written up in mythology, etc. But they knew that is. So knowledge is something which changes the world. I hope the knowledge also goes into these so-called leaders, both political and economic leaders, who are so greedy that they don't want to learn anything. So that's my, yeah.
The mic is right here.
Okay. So he has because he has a mic.
So, love the talk, thank you so much for it. My question was, on an individual level, we can implement these habits, we can develop spirituality, we can think of how my practices would lead to a more sustainable world. But when we talk big scale, right, when we talk about nations, groups of nations, or big enterprises, it is most of the times, in most cases, it is a zero-sum game. So if you don't do something which may be unsustainable, non-spiritual, someone else will do it, and they will actually get ahead in that industry or on resources.
I don't believe that. What is industry made of? It is made of all individuals like us.
Yes.
So if we all become personally sustainable, the industry will change. And this is what Gandhiji taught us. We need to change our life, our perspective. We need to change 6 foot around us, the environment, and the whole world will change. We don't need to think about the rest of the world. And that is the most important thing.
So this has to be inculcated simultaneously,
yes,
for it to not become...
And when, the power of human mind is such that when you are good internally, it affects the people around us. That AI cannot do that. that humanness cannot pass through anything else, only through the human brain. Yeah.
We can take one last question.
Why not we continue? This,
Definitely continue with the next
dharma, this whole conference is about discussion. Yeah.
Thank you for talking, and thank you for talking about God. Okay, because that.
No, I never talked about God.
No, I know you didn't, but you put that line in, and I love it. Okay, so thank you for insisting on also to use intelligence to cut across religion, race, color, gender identity, national origin. I think even the digital age and disabilities and genetic information collection, which is also my background. I would like your thoughts to be, how do you deal with not only, as we also deal with, workplace accommodation and harassment issues, which another speaker spoke about yesterday, cyber crimes and stuff, in the context of making up such worlds where we are not only just one earth, but part of larger Brahmandalas. Inkai din gurinchi inchi galta hu, it's that stimulanga aur nagarta hu, or like kush se ho sakte hain. Kyunki when we see so much predator-prey systems where birds eat birds and fish eat fish, it gives a lot of unhappiness. And I don't know why, even though energy cannot be made nor destroyed, we say, why are we part of such worlds? If you can,
Well, this is a very big fundamental question. But as I said, if we change ourselves,
yeah.
this is a long process. You know, when I discuss with these young kids in my daughter's school, etc., it's a very difficult process because they spend 6 hours. I may be able to tell them something. 18 hours they are totally detoxified, and whatever happens.
Yes.
And so it becomes a very difficult process, but we have to continuously keep on working it. And it starts from us.
We are infrastructure. I agree when Vishwarupa is shown, I feel like an Arjuna, like bewildered. But how do we, since we cannot go anywhere, bahar se koi andar na sake, andar se koi bahar na ja sake, and in thermodynamics, why are we still at odds with the rural versus urban living?
No, there's nothing like that. You know, since you are talking about thermodynamics,
Yeah.
when you take a beaker of water,
Yes.
you heat it from bottom. The classical thermodynamics tells you that there will be a total chaos.
Yes.
But we have these beautiful convection cells come in. And you know, I can give a big lecture on all this, what is called turbulence and etc. And then there's this convection, removes all these small particles jumping around. And that is what is going to happen. If each one of us become a better human being, the total convection that we will develop will take care of, I'm sorry to say, I'll not name the political leaders here or there, everywhere. They'll all be thrown out. They're all commas in the history of time.
I just don't want us to be like, when we say, don't be like Duryodhana, you know? And you want to be still like Arjuna, I'm just like, okay, I think they both were dealing with conflict in Hastinapur, so what do we do next? That's all.
That's a sign of getting old. Yeah. We think
Thank you
that
for all this enlightenment. One thing I want to add, maybe all of you heard the great physicist Niels Bohr. So Niels Bohr's best friend was Oscar Klein, and Oscar Klein's grandson is my very close friend. He is now 78 years old. So I always heard a lot of stories about Niels Bohr. So one story always haunts me actually. Niels Bohr, it's very secret, no one knows it. Niels Bohr always keeping two books. One on the left side of the bed and another on the right side. One was, initially it was Upanishad, and then he decided no, Gita. So now, then he was starting, last 10 years he was keeping with the Gita, and always his right hand was touching the Gita when he was sleeping. And another thing is that he was keeping one small photo of Gandhiji, and he told Oscar Klein that, you know, I am lucky, in that world I am breathing in where Gandhiji has breathed out.
Gita he liked because of Oppenheimer.
Yes.
Oppenheimer thought that he knew Gita, but he did not. But anyway, I've written for quite some time. Oppenheimer's very close friend was my friend Stanley Ulam, the father of hydrogen bomb. He was with us in University of Florida, and I had a great satisfaction of interacting with him. And he told me a lot of interesting stories. This is for something else. Okay, anything more? Yeah, the gentleman, because he has been.
I think this will be the last question.
You made a statement to say that Dharma is a search for truth. So, I think truth has many levels in terms of what is the amount of knowledge that you have. I think someone who has access to more knowledge will be closer to the truth. So, when I'm trying to understand what was the perspective with which you mentioned this particular statement.
When you are very honest with yourself, you don't have to ask anybody. The truth reveals itself. It's a continuous process. I have seen very fleetingly this happen in my life. I still don't have any idea and I don't know the ultimate truth. But it always happens that when you are really seeking truthfully or very honestly, then the path opens up. Nobody will teach you anything. And that is why in our Upanishads, the Guru simply says, not this, whatever it is. And the disciple even becomes better than the Guru. Okay, it has been a pleasure and thank you very much.
Thank you.